Hey guys, Ollie here from Local Knowledge, and today I'm going to show you how to install a top shot. It's really pretty simple. It's wintertime now in Southern California, not a lot of fishing going on. This is the time I rig gear. I literally sat by the fireplace this weekend because it was rainy outside, and I made a season's worth of wind-on leaders for my heavy gear. Wind-on leader, if you don't know, is basically a piece of leader material, either fluoro or mono. In this case, we're using Seaguar 200. This is the original blue label, Seaguar 200. I love it because it's got great abrasion resistance and it's strong. It has never failed on me. I trust it implicitly. 200 is a really good weight because it allows the line to rub on the bottom of the boat or other fish in the school or whatever, and it gives you that protection versus just having raw braid. The other reason I use a wind-on leader is for shock absorption. I do know some guys that fish just like I do here in Southern California. They don't use leaders, they go right to the swivel. In my opinion, big mistake. You're gonna pull a lot more hooks. In fact, I watched a good friend of mine in one day pull 6 hooks right next to me. We pull maybe 1 or 2 hooks all season long, and I really do think that's because we have some stretch in our connection to that fish. Okay, so now you've got a rod and reel. This is one of my rail rods. It's got a Penn 50 VISX narrow reel on it. This is what we use all day, every day. We carry 5 or 6 of these so we can hook multiple fish on the kite. And we're gonna take the line that comes off of it. The first thing you need to figure out is your braid hollow or is it solid? I love hollow. I'm really into splicing braid. I like to be able to repair. If I lose line, I get roughed up on the bottom of the boat, get chewed off, I can just insert some more line. The other reason I really like hollow is because I can put a loop in this, and I'm gonna show you how to do that and make a connection that doesn't have any knots. So before you can put a wind-on on, it's done by loop-to-loop connection, you need a loop. So I'm gonna make a loop in this line, and like some of the other rigging, I'm gonna make a 12-inch mark here just by bending it and pinching. Then I'm gonna make another mark 12 inches from that one, okay? Now you can use a fancy Spectra latch needle. I've got all that stuff, but you can also just use a piece of solid wire. This is 0.014 solid wire. It's just an old pack I've had forever, 7 strand. They haven't been around in ages. I take about 3 feet of it, and then I pinch at the halfway point until I make a bend or like a bullet in the line. Okay, and what this is gonna be used for is this is gonna go up inside the braid and grab another piece section of line to give me the loop that I wanna make. So what I'm gonna do here is I'm gonna start at my first mark, 12 inches in, and I'm gonna insert my wire there, and I'm gonna go towards the spool of the reel and come out at that 12-inch mark. So you start that off by going to your mark here. I like to push the braid together to kind of get it to open up. You'll see it'll get fatter. And then with the wire, I like to hold it open a little bit, like, I don't know, 3/16 between my fingers. And what that does, it makes it a little bit wider and it keeps the wire from wanting to jump out of the braid in the wrong spot. So getting this started, it can be a little tricky at times. Sometimes it goes really smooth the first time. This is the rare instance. I got it in first shot. You can see my wire and the little bullet in my wire is inside the braid. And this is so easy. I keep this wire and some extra braid on the boat just in case we do need to splice in a new loop. And if I don't have it, I can always fall back on the good old-fashioned bimini. Okay, so now my wire is coming out the other side at that 12-inch point that we marked earlier. I'm gonna take the wire, I'm gonna spread it open, the 2 legs of it. This does not get easier as you get older and your eyes get worse. Okay, I'm gonna open that up a little, just about like that. Then I'm gonna take all this tag in and I'm gonna put it through that loop and kind of spin it around on itself. And all I did was I made it so now the braid is passing through the loop by flipping it back onto itself. Okay, you're gonna come now back down to this side, hold on to your wire, and you're gonna pull. I like to have a little bit of tag sticking out here, coming through. A little bit of tag there. You're just gonna pull the wire so that it will grab the main line. See how it's threaded through? It's gonna pull it inside of itself. Once you got it started on that end, just take all of this slack, and what you're doing is you're now pulling the braid into itself and rolling it over. And in the process of doing that, you are gonna form a loop. Now I've got a little loop. While this is loose, I can adjust the loop to whatever size I want by just sliding out more line. I like to have it like, I guess that would be about a 5-inch loop is usually what I shoot for. So I'm just adjusting it here. That's what I like. My fingers open a little bit and you've got your loop, right? Okay, now you need to secure this connection so it can't slide. So you've still got this tag end that's sticking out of the braid. And what you're gonna do, you're gonna take the tag and match it up to the main line. And then you're gonna go a couple inches past that point. And what I'm doing here, I'm just pushing the braid open again. And now I'm gonna insert my wire one more time, and I'm gonna go towards the tag end, not the spool. And so again, I'm gonna test my old man vision. And if this is hard for you, take it from experience. Reading glasses go a long way to see what you're doing. Okay, now I'm back in the braid again. I'm gonna pull the braid down the wire, smooth it out once it kind of piles up, and I'm gonna go to about a 1/2 inch from that tag end that we were just looking at. Right about there. You can see where the tag end starts, and now you can see the loop of my wire is poking through. So simple. I'm just gonna put this line, the tag end, into the wire, and I'm gonna use the wire to pull the tag inside of the standing line. You just pull it. Okay, here's my wire, here's my tag end. Now what I have is, I have a loop, I have the tag end going back into itself on the standing line, and I've got all this extra line. The reason we inserted the needle a few inches past where the tag end goes is this. Pull the tag and then pull this sleeve, and you'll see, I mean, all the braid's bunched up on itself now. Watch that tag end as I pull this down. Boom, gone. So I took the tag end, I fed it back into the main line, and that's my loop. It's 100% connection. There's no knot. These don't fail. I mean, we've never had a single issue with this, and it just eliminates tackle failure. And honestly, it's a cleaner rig, and I like my stuff to be rigged really clean. So now I've created a loop, right? I'm gonna use what's called a cat's paw connection in order to connect these two lines. The reason they call it a cat's paw is because the lines go together like that and interlock with each other. Sounds a little confusing, but it's really not hard. I am gonna take, you can use either end. I like to loop the heavier end over the main line, and the heavier end is usually gonna be your wind-on, and then just pass the wind-on through. Do that once, and now you've got a single cat's paw connection. I usually use a double or a triple. So now you take the wind-on loop and you pull it through the mainline loop again. Now I've got a double cat's paw connection. You can see the loops are starting to add up there. I'm gonna do a triple and pull this kind of tight. I'm gonna pass it through one more time. Now, this is super important. I've got it looped through nice and loose, but what can happen is one of the legs, for instance, on the standing line could get pulled out or scrunched up. You don't want that. You want to make sure that the line, the loop that you made is tight. Put your finger in here and go above the connection you just made and pull it tight so that you know that cat's paw is gonna land right in the middle of the loop and not have one leg tighter than another and be pulling unevenly or whatever. And I'm just gonna come all the way down to my cat's paw, smoothing things out, making sure that the loop connection on this side is even. And I'm gonna go down to this side and I'm gonna pull it. and make sure I'm all evened out. Okay, I'm looking good there. Now what you want to do is just wind the reel up so you can put some tension on this joint, and you're going to have pressure on that side that's even because you're pulling basically back on the reel. Come out here, past the connection, and just pull it kind of snug. Now the next thing I'll do here is I'm going to come down to my cat's paw. You can see it's laid out beautifully. I'm just going to cinch it a little bit, kind of tighten it up, make it look more compact. And when I pull on this, I want to make sure those leads are even, which they are. I've got a beautiful wrap there, no slack, no extra junk in my connection. I'm going to spin this up. And so for the style of fishing we do, we like to change out those flying fish baits really fast or get them on the line fast. So we use a swivel. This has kind of proven itself over the years. So the last thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to crimp my swivel on. And one of the things I've found over the last couple of years, little tip, is put a bead on this first. And what that'll allow you to do is wind your leader tight with the swivel at the tip without damaging your rod tip, and it stretches out the leader and keeps everything nice and straight and square. I'm using smaller crimps here. I'm going to use 2 of these just for a little extra insurance. Put my crimps on, bead, crimps, then put on my chafe gear. Chafe gear, and then last, big old swivel that you trust. Now I'm going to feed the line back through the 2 crimps with some slack. Going to grab my handy dandy torch and just kind of mushroom the end of this line. I don't know if this really does anything for you, but it does feel like a little bit of extra insurance. Just melt it evenly, kind of a mushroom. Take the bottom of your lighter, form the mushroom, and it'll dry almost instantly, or yeah, stop melting almost instantly. Then I'm just going to take the crimp tube, push it over to the crimp side. You can see I got everything lined up here. Pull it tight. Now I've got my loop, got my swivel, my 2 crimps. I'm going to put this, because I'm using 200 pound in the 1 to 2 millimeter hole. Crimp it again. Be sure to leave about an 1/8 inch of crimp sticking out the side of the crimper. If you crimp that edge down, you'll create a sharp point that you do not want. Crimp, crimp. And that's it. Now you've got your swivel on here. I'm going to clip my flying fish on there, my yummy flyer, my California flyer, whatever that may be. I got quick change out, brand new crispy leader ready for the season, and I'm good to go. So that's how you form a loop, make a wind-on connection using a cat's paw loop to loop, and make a proper crimp to put your swivel on. Now, because I have the rigging bead that I talked about, I'm going to go ahead and wind my line tight to the rod tip. And the bead is going to stop the swivel from hurting the ceramic guide. And I leave them in the rod rack just like this. So we need to quickly grab a rod. All I do, strip off a couple of feet, get this, clip my bait on, send it. And hopefully it gets bit, and I send it again, send it again. That's it. So now you've learned how to properly install a wind-on, how to make a loop, and also how to make a proper crimp. We appreciate you watching our channel. If you enjoyed this video, please click the subscribe button, and we appreciate you watching.